morning, everyone. Hello, live from Arlington, Massachusetts. I'm Mark David Buckles, the Director of Music, here again with Julie Metcalf. And we're going to start us off today with a traditional Thanksgiving hymn in honor of our Thanksgiving service. This is "Come, Ye Thankful People, Come," and it's a song about the changing and cyclical nature of the harvest and of the world, and it's a reminder that all things come in their time, and a prayer that we too are wholesome and pure grain, each blossoming once again in our time. I hope you'll sing with us. 2, 3. Come, ye thankful people, come, raise a song of harvest home. Fruits and crops are gathered in, safe before the storms begin. God our Maker will provide for our needs to be supplied. Come to God's own temple, come, raise a song of harvest home. All the world is but a field, given for a fruitful yield. Wheats and tares together come, here for joy or sorrow grown. First the blade, and then the ear, then the full corn shall appear. God of harvest, grant that we wholesome grain and pure may be.
Good morning. Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Welcome to the Soul of Sunday. We are Unitarian Universalists. Ours is an historic faith with a progressive theology. We affirm the worth and dignity of every being, and that we are all deeply interconnected. We are bound to one another, not by creed, but by covenant. And we are called to answer the call of love with open minds, open hearts, and open hands. Whoever you are, those of all nations, all creeds, all colors, all kinds of love, you are welcome here.
Hi everyone, this was my absolute first thought when I heard Kim would be talking about joy in small things. This song really needs no introduction, everyone knows it. This is my favorite things from The Sound of Music. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into spring. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into spring. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Dear ones, happy Thanksgiving Sunday. This is not how any of us imagine being gathered together to celebrate and give thanks for the harvest. But as always, I am grateful to be together while apart. Once again, thanks to our extraordinary tech team for making this service possible.
Good morning, my friends, and happy Thanksgiving. It is so great to be here with you, the tech team, and all of our staff musicians this morning. If you haven't already downloaded today's order of service, it's available in the chat and on the homepage at ascboston.org. All of the hymn lyrics are included in the order of service and will be posted in the chat so we can sing together. There's also a link to Sermon Bingo on the homepage. Feel free to play along while Reverend Kim preaches. As we continue our virtual greetings, please say hello in the chat. Let's engage that Arlington Street spirit of welcome that transcends physical distance as we greet one another heart to heart.
Hello again, everyone. Our next hymn is We Give Thanks, and it's a call and response hymn. So we've made a little video with me singing the call part, and then Anne-Marie and Daniel will be singing the response part. So I invite you to sing along with Anne-Marie, who will be on the melody, or harmonize with Daniel, or add a third and fourth harmony part. It's a straightforward song, but it's a lot of fun to sing together. I hope you'll join us in We Give Thanks.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious
For
day.
all gathered here.
And those far away.
For this time we
For this time we
with love
share
and care.
with love and care.
We give
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious
for this precious
day.
day.
We give thanks
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious day.
for this precious day.
Gathered here.
For all gathered here. precious day.
We give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day.
For all
Gathered
gathered
here
and those far away.
and those far away.
For
For this time we share
love and care.
with love and care.
We give thanks.
Oh, we give
For this
thanks
precious day.
for this precious day.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
It is now time for our treasured ritual of sharing community candles of sorrow and joy. These candles were submitted at ascboston.org. If you didn't submit your candle and have a joy or a sorrow to share this morning, please wait until the third candle is lit, the silent candle, and then type your joy or sorrow into the chat. In addition to sharing our joys and sorrows this morning, let's reach out to one another in the week ahead, staying connected. May these times remind us of how very precious this beloved community is. We need one another. Despite having to be apart, may we stay very close. And now, in the spirit of invocation, let's join in singing Sanctuary. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you.
A candle of sorrow from Liz Texera. I'm asking for your prayers for my cousin Matthew's family. Matthew was 38 years old and died unexpectedly in his sleep last Sunday. He left behind a wife and 4 children, all of whom are devastated. A mixed candle from Deb Peck at the death of her dad, the Honorable Edward C. Peck, Jr., age 104 years old. He was cared for at home up until the last 2 days of his incredible life. An anonymous candle of concern for 2 family members of close friends who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and are in quarantine. They are recovering, but please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Our final candle of sorrow is for all of us experiencing the disappointment of canceled holiday plans and missing being with loved ones this Thanksgiving.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true.
And some of us come today in joy. We share your joy.
A candle of joy from the Congregation for Dave McLean. Following brain surgery, Dave was finally released from the hospital this past Wednesday. He is settling into a nursing facility associated with his assisted living community. He will continue to undergo treatment and is now sitting up and receiving physical therapy. His family is taking very good care of him. He loves receiving emails, phone calls, and cards, which can be sent to him here at the church. Thanks to Reverend Erica Rose Long, our affiliated community minister, who's a chaplain at Massachusetts General Hospital, Dave has not missed a single Wednesday tea time with all of us. Dave, we love you and are wishing you a speedy recovery. A candle of joy from Queen Cheryl. I work for a large, somewhat conservative international food company that has recently been bought out, and it's clear that there has been a change in management. A brand new training video series has been published entitled Communicating with Compassion. It's geared toward entry-level hourly employees in the service industry. One of the modules listed tips for dealing with the homeless population and actually went as far as to list reasons for homelessness: lack of affordable housing, lack of economic opportunity, among others. Here's a quote: "You never know who may be homeless, and a little kindness goes a long way." In nearly 50 years in this business, I have never heard the words kindness or compassion in a training video, or anywhere for that matter, except in my own training classes. Listening to all of this, I can't help but think that somewhere in the upper echelons of the new administration, a Unitarian Universalist is at the helm. Our final candle of joy this morning is from the Arlington Street Congregation for our ministers, staff, tech team, and members who are taking leadership to bring us together and keep us close during these times. We are grateful for you.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
For all the sorrows and all the joys we hold in our hearts, we light a silent candle to remember and to rejoice. May the peace of our sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together, breathing our prayers for ourselves, for one another, for our country, and for the world. Amen.
Let's join now in saying together the affirmation and covenant of this beloved spiritual community. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de nuestra congregación y el servicio es nuestro regalo. Esto es a lo que nos comprometemos, convivir en paz, hablar nuestras verdades con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
Good morning. Today I'm going to be singing for you the song Simple Gifts, which I believe speaks for itself. Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Artist and writer Jenny Odell's recent book, How to Do Nothing, begins, "Nothing is harder to do than nothing." In a world where our value is determined by our productivity, many of us find our every last minute captured, optimized, or appropriated as a financial resource by the technologies we use daily. A certain nervous feeling of being overstimulated and unable to sustain a train of thought lingers. Though it can be hard to grasp before it disappears behind that screen of distraction, This feeling is, in fact, urgent. Most of you know the feeling of stupor when surfacing from the rabbit hole of lost time on Facebook or Instagram. And though we may be loath to admit it, the invasive nature of social media, financially incentivized to keep us in a profitable state of anxiety, envy, and distraction. But long before social media, Hispano-Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "Look back in memory and consider how much has robbed you of life when you were not aware of what you were losing. How much was taken up in useless sorrow, in foolish joy, in greedy desire, in the allurements of society. How little of yourself was left to you. You will perceive," he says, "that you are dying before your season." And already in 1877, long before social media, Scottish writer Robert Louis Stevenson called busyness a symptom of deficient vitality and bemoaned a sort of dead, alive, hackneyed people who are scarcely conscious of living except in the exercise of some conventional occupation. In How to Do Nothing, Jenny Odell is inviting us to simply slow down or stop. Not a weekend retreat so that we can return to work refreshed and be more productive, but rather to deeply question what we currently perceive as productive, to disengage from that which is not life-giving, and to engage with what is. And to guide that process, she asks some very important questions, including, my favorites, what would back to the land mean if we understood the land to be where we are right now? Could augmented reality simply mean putting down your phone? And when you finally do, what or who is that sitting in front of you? She is imagining for us a practice in which our attention is wrested from the assault of incoming hits, when we stop allowing our attention to be bought and sold and bring it home to the present, the gift of this very moment. As I've reflected on the how of this, I've returned to the power of giving thanks and of its deep intersection with joy. This is American poet Anne Sexton's poem, Welcome Morning, made more beautiful by the knowledge of the poet's pitched battle with mental illness. Welcome morning. There is a joy in all. In the hair I brush each morning, in the cannon towel newly washed that I rub my body with each morning, in the chapel of eggs I cook each morning, in the outcry of the kettle that heats my coffee each morning, in the spoon and the chair that cry, "Hello there, Anne," each morning, in the Godhead of the table that I set my silver plate cup upon each morning. All this is God, right here in my pea green house each morning. And I mean, though often forget to give thanks, to faint down by the kitchen table in a prayer of rejoicing as the holy birds at the kitchen window peck into their marriage of seeds. So while I think of it, let me paint a thank you on my palm for this God, this laughter of the morning, lest it go unspoken. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young. To give ourselves to this spiritual practice of gratitude is, by definition, to notice, to regard, to appreciate, and to feel joy. Our own Barb Seidel taught us her gratitude practice, 3 things written down at the close of the day. The additional rule for my own practice is no repeating. This past week, I got to note just once all 5 bright solar system planets in the night sky. Then I had to focus on Jupiter hanging low. And the next night, Saturn, so beautiful. And then I got curious and looked it up. On December 21st, Jupiter and Saturn will have a great conjunction, the closest they have been to one another since 1623. Gratitude calls our attention to linger, to see the details, to remember, and to anticipate joy. In the 1970s, composer and musician Pauline Oliveros taught an experimental music class at UC San Diego and developed participatory group techniques such as people listening to each other's music and improvising responses. Her goal, she said, was sound healing, bringing some inner peace to bear on the violence and upheaval of the Vietnam War. She called the technique that emerged deep listening, listening in every possible way to everything possible to hear, no matter what you are doing. To hear, she said, is the physical means that enables perception. To listen is to give attention to what is perceived, both acoustically and psychologically. Deep listening includes attending to the sounds of daily life, of nature, of one's own thoughts, as well as musical sounds. Deep listening represents a heightened state of awareness and connects us to all there is. The goal and the reward of deep listening is this heightened sense of receptivity and a reversal of our cultural training, which teaches us to quickly analyze and judge, more than simply to observe. When we listen or look, smell, feel, or taste in this way for just a beat, time stops. In her book, Wanderlust, American writer and activist Rebecca Solnit writes of walking the labyrinth inside San Francisco's Grace Cathedral. The circuit was so absorbing, she says, I lost sight of the people nearby and hardly heard the sound of the traffic and the bells for 6 o'clock. When we practice slowing down enough to notice, to pay attention, and to give thanks, it's like a tiny vacation. We return to everyday life with our senses open and blessed. We return thankful. Baron Wormser is the former poet laureate of Maine. Let's close now with his poem, Opinion. Halfway to work, and Merriman has already told me what he thinks about the balanced budget, the Mets' lack of starting pitching, the dangers of displaced Soviet nuclear engineers, soy products, and diesel cars. I look out the window and hope I'll see a swan. I hear they're bad-tempered, but I love their necks and how they glide along so sovereignly. I never take the time to drive to a pond and spend an hour watching swans. What would happen if I heeded the admonitions of beauty? When I look over at Merriman, he's telling Driscoll that the president doesn't know what he's doing with China. China, I say out loud, but softly. I go back to the window. It started snowing. At the age of 28, Scottish-American naturalist and early advocate for the preservation of wilderness John Muir was working in a wagon wheel factory when he suffered an accident that left him temporarily blind and confined to a darkened room for 6 weeks with no assurance that he would regain his sight. Years later, his editor, William Frederick Bodd, collected the writings of John Muir and divided them into 2 parts, one before the accident and one after. In introducing the second part, Bodd writes that Muir's enforced period of reflection convinced him that life was too brief and uncertain and time too precious to waste upon belts and saws, that while he was pottering in a wagon factory, God was making a world. And he vowed that if his eyesight were spared, he would devote the remainder of his life to a study of the process. When his sight returned, he saw the world, he said, and his purpose in a new light. From that time on, he was determined to be true to himself. 6 months later, in September of 1867, Muir walked from Kentucky to Florida by the wildest, leafiest, and least trodden way he could find. Muir wrote, "This affliction has driven me to sweet fields. God has to nearly kill us sometimes to teach us lessons." What if we chose to change course before we are forced to? Beloved spiritual companions, this Thanksgiving comes to us at a time of suffering, suffering in mind, body, and spirit for so many in the world. Many of us are feeling anxious, lonely, and afraid. No one said that gratitude would come easily. The spiritual practice of gratitude is also an act of faith. And we will find that in the practice of giving thanks, we build the muscle of a way of seeing and being in the world, in thanks and in love. Happy Thanksgiving, beloveds. Amen.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and crows of white, the bright blessed days, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Friends, your generosity continues to astound us. We are continuing to pay our staff and maintain our building even when most of us can't be here. This is not a Thanksgiving that any of us could have imagined. These are hard times, and hard times reveal character and creativity. As a community, we have rallied together here in our Zoom room each Sunday throughout these long months with intention and tenderness, growing closer than ever. What could have broken us has only made us stronger. While it's not the holiday we would have chosen, this is the Thanksgiving we are given. And it will be part of the pandemic story each of us will tell. Many of us are being kept from gathering with family and friends. But please don't be lonely. Reverend Kim and I hope that you will join us here in the Zoom room at 11 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning to say hello, visit for an hour, and maybe share some stories of our favorite Thanksgiving dishes, which ones we wouldn't eat any other time, and perhaps some epic cooking fails. And then on Friday, the Arlington Street social team will host a Friendsgiving gathering starting at 5:30. All are welcome. Please take a moment now to join me in giving as we fill our virtual collection plate. You can text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 617-300-0000. 0509, scan the QR code in the order of service, or click on the yellow Donate Now button on the homepage at ascboston.org. Here's that number again, 617-300-0509. Thank you for your generosity. After you make your gift to sustain our beloved spiritual community, please continue to share in the chat what inspires you during these difficult days. Thank you.
Well, I was born with all I needed, came to this world complete and whole. Though it would journey long just to see it, those three letters of my soul, like the sea in late November, my steady waves have seen the storm. But further down I just might remember that slow, peaceful way back home. So when the years are all behind me and my time has passed me by, only thankfulness will find me. I'll be grateful by and by. Well, I've had dreams and I've had visions. Some came true by grace or chance. I've known the sweetness of good fortune, and I've seen it all slip right through my hands. But when the years are all behind me and my time has passed me by, only thankfulness will find me. I'll be grateful by and by. You felt the fire of my fury. You've known my demons and my doubts, but you see through my fear and worry, like the sun behind the clouds. So when the years are all behind me and my time has passed me by, only thankfulness will find me. I'll be grateful by and by, when the years are all behind me and my time has passed me by. Only thankfulness will find me. I'll be grateful by and by. I'll be grateful by and by.
As always, there are a lot of wonderful gatherings happening this week, including meditation, a writing group, poetry, yoga, a book discussion, and several activities for Thanksgiving. The conversation prompt for this Wednesday's tea time with the ministers is, I am grateful for. On Thanksgiving morning at 11, join Kim, and me here in the Zoom room to say hello. And on Friday at 5:30, the Arlington Street Social Team is hosting a Zoom Friendsgiving to relax and chat, share stories, play games, and get to know each other better. For details on everything that's going on, please be sure to visit our homepage at ascboston.org. A reminder that today we are wrapping up Share the Plate for Only a Child. Directions on how to give are in the chat. Next Sunday, we'll have a special Share the Plate for Lebanon. Thank you, friends. At the close of today's service, please unmute yourself for virtual coffee hour and enjoy the opportunity to visit in smaller groups in breakout rooms. Remember, we are all in this together. I miss you. I love you.
Friends, this is it. The launch of All Souls, a capital campaign for the preservation of Arlington Street Church. Let's begin by thanking our extraordinary capital campaign kitchen cabinet, which has been meeting with me every week. Al Ingram, Audria and Sarah Mady, John O'Connor, Liz Texera, Sarah Kolibik, and Philip Roberts are bringing an unprecedented concentration of intellectual firepower, creativity, and devotion to this project. I also want to acknowledge special assistance from Tech Team Lead Art Nava, Restoration Team Lead John Anderson Miller, and from staff members Reverend Beth and Lorinda O'Connor. Thank you, my friends. For those of you who haven't heard, our almost 160-year-old building needs a lot of love. We are entering phase 1 of a multi-year project that will restore the spalling brownstone and preserve the exterior of the front of the church, everything below the spire, as well as rebuild the Boylston Street stairs and build a beautiful, newly designed ramp on the Arlington Street side. The price of phase 1 is in the neighborhood of $2.5 million. The lion's share of the money will not come from the congregation, but we have a very important role to play as we seek more grants and outside gifts. Our work is to demonstrate our commitment to this project by making our contributions over the next 5 weeks until the end of 2020. Our goal is a goal of participation. If we can get to 100%, if every one of us can give something, large or small, it will demonstrate to potential funders that we care and are caring for our corner of the city. I'm going to turn it over now to our beloved Lois Hartsoff.
Thanks. I'm deeply connected to my history. My family settled the Finger Lakes area of New York over 200 years ago. We have deep roots. My brother lives in what was my great-grandfather's farmhouse. As he often groans, upkeep and maintenance of a farmhouse built in 1840 takes a lot of work. 21 years later, our Unitarian forebears built our church, and at the turn of the last century, funded an exquisite collection of Tiffany windows. Now our church, like my family farmhouse, needs a lot of work. In the spring, I shared with you what I learned from my father about money. My father grew up in the Great Depression and was always saving for the next rainy day. He held on to his money tightly, influenced by his fear of not having enough. After my father's death, I learned he actually had money left over, and I would receive an unexpected inheritance. I feel extremely blessed, especially as I know many people are suffering the economic fallout of the pandemic. I've been privileged to have an outstanding education and career as a nurse. While strongly influenced by my father, I've chosen some different values around money. I choose to believe I will have enough rather than holding onto my money tightly. Because I have been blessed, I want to be generous. Whenever I walk across the common from downtown Crossing, I'm grateful to see the steeple, a visual connection to my spiritual home. I've been at Arlington Street almost 20 years. You've supported me during times of unemployment, a leaking roof in my condo, conflicts with my siblings, and most recently, strengthening me as I care for aging parents. Here, I have been freely accepted. I do not have any other community where I have had a continuous connection for 20 years. I don't have children to support, and I'm free to choose my descendants. Just like our Unitarian forebears, I want to leave something that will benefit future generations. I'm blessed to have $10,000 to give away. And in spirit of generosity, I want to support the building and people that have been a part of my life.
Lois, your generosity is astounding. Thank you. Lois's gift, my friends, is a match. The challenge to each of us now is to meet this match, and preferably this week. We can give by check. We can text to give. That number is in your order of service and in the chat, and the word is souls. And we can click through the Donate Now button at ascboston.org. Tech team lead Art Nava is going to show you now the graphic of the front of the church drawn by our architects at Brunner Cott. They literally drew every stone. And as we give, our names will be filled in, not on the building itself, but on the stones on this beautiful graphic. Eventually, this drawing with our names will be mounted and hung here in the sanctuary for posterity, so everyone can see what we did together. Yulia Yun is going to play some beautiful music now. If you're ready, I invite you to join me now in matching Lois's extraordinary generosity by making your gift to All Souls, a capital campaign for the preservation of Arlington Street Church. If you have any questions or you're just excited to talk about your gift, our treasurer, Liz Texera, is standing by. Please feel free to text or call Liz at 617-686-1232 or email her at treasurer@ascboston.org. Her contact information is in the chat now. Thank you, Liz. And thanks again to Lois and to each and every one of you. Bless your hearts.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lois, and thank you, Yulia, for that music and all your beautiful music throughout the services. We have a closing hymn today, which is another classic Thanksgiving hymn that we usually sing at the close of our Thanksgiving services, often with a string orchestra and a full choir. And while we can't manage that today, what we have put together with a lot of help from Art Nava is all four of our section leaders will be on screen singing our final hymn in four-part harmony with Yulia on organ. So I invite you to sing along. You can even sing one of the harmony parts if you want. And we will close today with We Sing Now Together.
We sing now together our song of thanksgiving, rejoicing in goods which the ages have wrought, for life that enfolds us and helps and gives and holds us, and leads beyond the goals which our forebears once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labor, their sorrow, their pain, the oppressed befriending, our ampler hopes defending. Their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers, our own lives expanding, our gratitude commanding. Their deeds has made immortal their days and their years. We sing of the unity now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. We pledge ourselves in covenant firmly to stand.
Before our benediction, I invite you to reach out your hands and touch the sides of your square. Touch hands with the people to your left and to your right, and send out love to the person on either side of you and to the people on either side of them. Send out love into this beloved spiritual community and feel it coming back to you. Love is the spirit of this congregation. And now for our benediction, I invite you to put your hands over your heart in namaste. I bow to the divine in you. Our benediction is from American singer and songwriter Bob Franke. He calls it Thanksgiving Eve. What can we do with our days but work and hope? Let our dreams bind our work to our play. What can we do with each moment of our lives but love till we've loved it away? Let us keep this faith, beloveds, and pass it on. The service begins when the service ends. Bless your hearts. I love you. Amen.
And let's sing together, Where You Go, I Will Go, Beloved. Where you go, I I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.